He's going to give us a bird's eye view into the genocide and how it's unfolded until this date. So without further ado, inshallah, please help me in joining Brother Mansour Shouman on stage, inshallah. Big round of applause for Brother Mansour, everyone.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah, salatu wassalam ala rasulillah. MashaAllah, what a great Muslimi Got Talent event. We saw our youth, our future leaders of tomorrow, MashaAllah, with some amazing art. What can we say? It has been 303 days since the start of the ongoing genocide in Gaza. 303 days, over 10 months. Brothers and sisters, many times I wake up now and I wonder why I am still alive. How come I am still here? Sometimes I feel things are surreal around me. It's like I live in the Matrix or something. I'm originally from Jerusalem, from the West Bank. And in 2009, I got my Jerusalem passport, my Hawiyya, taken away from me by the Zionist regime. And similar to millions of Palestinians around the world, we became refugees. I sought refuge in Canada, where I finished my engineering degree at Queen's University, and I did my MBA at the University of Calgary. Like many here, I worked in the public sector, oil and gas, did some consulting work, and I even started my own businesses. But the love of the Holy Land, الأرض التي باركنا فيها للعالمين, was always in my heart. I tried to serve the Muslim Ummah and the Islamic purpose, living outside of the Holy Land. But wallahi, there is nothing like being there on the ground with our brothers and sisters there. The first masjid, it has Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. It is the source of victory for the Muslim Ummah for the last 1400 years. Whenever history changed in the Muslim Ummah in the world, it happened from the Holy Land. Whether it be prior to the Prophet ﷺ, because it was the birthplace of most of the prophets, or after he came ﷺ. We all remember the year when the Prophet ﷺ's wife Khadija and uncle Ali ibn Abi Talib passed away, Aam al-Huzn. And he left Ta'if with Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, with blood trailing down his body from the stones that were thrown at him. Where did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take the Prophet Muhammad so that he can relieve him of this pain and give him back motivation to continue with his da'wah work, which reached us today? He took him in Al-Isra from Mecca to Bayt al-Maqdis, where he prayed in Jama'ah with the prophets prior to him. And then we all know the story of Mi'raj, where we got our 5 daily prayers and so on. After that, we all know the Ma'raka of Yarmouk, where it was the first major defeat of the Byzantine Roman Empire, which allowed the Muslims to spread Islam through Bilad al-Sham and then Egypt and then North Africa and Turkey. After that came the Battle of Hittin against the Crusades. Again, where did that happen? It happened on the Holy Land, where Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi was able to restore Bayt al-Maqdis after many years of bloodshed and cruelty by the Crusaders during that time. We also know what happened in the Mughals when they were almost going to annihilate the Muslim Ummah at large and advance to the Eastern Europeans and Africa. Where were they put at stop? In Ain Jalut, again in the Holy Land, by Qutuz and Baybars, rahmatullah alayhim. And we all know where Napoleon Bonaparte got stopped. He got stopped in Akka. Again, where? In the Holy Land. Brothers and sisters, we are witnessing history again now in Gaza. Gaza 2023, 2024. This is a battle for generations to remember. Right now, Zionism, as you can all have seen very openly, are in control of the world. Whether it be through media, through banks, through political systems, through international organizations. And they think that by putting the Zionist regime in the middle of the Muslim Ummah, in the middle of the real free world. Why do I say the real free world? Because Islam freed us. حررنا من عبادة العباد إلى عبادة رب العباد. It freed us from servitude to those not worship to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and brought to us Islam, complete submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a full way of life, a divine way of living, whether it be through politics, economics, socialist systems, mu'amalat, ibadat, and so forth. Like we were freed before from the different enemies of Islam, now we are witnessing, inshallah soon, the victorious brothers and sisters in Gaza and those around Gaza against Zionism and evil forces. My dear brothers and sisters, I couldn't stay away from the Holy Land, so I decided to go back to Palestine, but this time to my wife's side of the family, since I'm not allowed to go back to the West Bank. I went to Gaza. And because Gaza doesn't have occupiers, doesn't have Zionists roaming around in checkpoints, the feeling was different. The masajid were different. The social norms were different. The family ties were strong. Gaza has been through 17 years of siege. You won't find any form of Starbucks or McDonald's or the latest BMW driving around the road there. SubhanAllah, because of the siege, because there's been like an 80% unemployment rate, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was preparing these people for something bigger, something better, for a bigger change. A lot of people out there in the booth asking, Mansour, how do these people able to stand going through what they're going through every day? They remind us of the Sahaba, of the Tabi'een. I tell them, Gaza has over 75,000 people hafadha of the Quran. 3,000 of them can recite the Quran in one full sitting. They will sit in front of you and recite it for the next 10, 12 hours without stop. I will tell you that for many years, those in charge of Gaza were offered billions of dollars to make Gaza like Singapore, like Dubai. But they refused. Because they told them, we want you to integrate with the rest of the world. So adopt our values, to be one of us. But they always said no. لا ننحني إلا لله. We only submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My dear brothers and sisters, I remember one of the things I did when I went to Gaza is I bought $5,000 worth of stored food. I told my family, I feel something is going to happen. What's happening around the world what's happening in Gaza and in the Holy Land, I feel there's an imminent war. And I bought $5,000 worth of food, and everyone around me thought I was crazy. Now, subhanAllah, trying to find food is something that we work on a daily basis with our brothers and sisters on the ground. Let me tell you some stories from my time in Khan Yunis, in Nasser Hospital, both when I was available daily on social media, on the news, and when I was off. Many times I used to travel away from the safe zone called Nasser Hospital. We thought it was a safe zone, but there is no safe area in Khan Yunis or in Gaza. And during one of those times, I went to oversee one of our projects in the western side of Khan Yunis. At that time, the Israeli and Zionist forces attacked. They did a 180-degree from the east to the west, and they attacked that area for the first time since the start of genocide. And we had to make our way inside the camp of Khan Yunis. So every city in Gaza has like a main city where the original Gazans live, and the camp where refugees who used to live in the West Bank or in currently known as Israel, they became refugees in Gaza. So we made our way inside the camp of Khan Yunis. And we stayed there for 2 weeks, going from home to home, trying to ensure that we are not seen by drones or avoid special forces, avoid the shells of tanks. At one point, we arrived at a place where we couldn't find any canned food or stored food around us. And we stayed fasting for like 3 or 4 days, and then it came to a point where one of the brothers, who was 19 years old, his name was Hudayfa, he said, I volunteer to go and try to look for food outside. That brother, prior to the war, was a very well-known troublemaker in the region. If there was a trouble that happened, they would all point that fingers at Hudayfa. Hudayfa's face was full of scars. He was a short brother, a very thin brother. When the genocide started, however, he came to us in our tent in Khan Yunis, where we were doing a lot of work to help the Ummah. And he said, I want to change. I want to use my strengths, my abilities, to help the Muslim Ummah, to become a better Muslim. I promise I will pray 5 times a day with you. I promise I will fast. I promise I will do Qiyam Layl. And this brother changed at 19. And he went and tried to find for us food. And he stayed away for 2 days. When it was safe, we went out to look for Brother Hudayfa. And we found his body laying on the street with blood gushing from underneath where his heart was. Brother Hudayfa was tan-colored, similar to me. When we saw his face, it was bright white. Bright white, brothers and sisters. It was a cold day. And his blood was still warm and gushing. And the smell of perfume and utar was overwhelming the place. Yes, he was shot by a sniper. Yes, Brother Hudayfa wasn't with us anymore. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept him as a martyr. We carried his body to the side and then left him there because it was unsafe to be at that side beside him at that point. However, this is not where the story ended, because when we walked away from his body, we heard the flapping of a bird. When we turned around, we saw this huge white bird strutting, walking towards him. And I didn't know what that bird was. I thought it was like a swan or something, but I knew they didn't have swans in Gaza. Then that bird looked at us and just spread its wings like this. And we noticed that this was actually a white peacock. And I looked at the brothers around me. I was like, do you have peacocks in Gaza? They're like, we don't even have colored peacocks. Where did this white peacock come from? And then this white peacock just covered the body of this brother. And then looked back at us. And then flew away. This is the story, one of 40,000 that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has selected during this genocide to take upon him, to take back beside him. And so many stories like Hudayfa, the Julaybibs of this ummah, those that not a lot of people know by name, they didn't become famous, but by Allah. نحن أمة ننصر بضعفائها. We are an ummah that are given victorious by how we treat the weak ones, those who are unknown, those who are not prideful. Brothers and sisters, when we were walking in Khan Yunis during these times, there's a lot to say, wallahi. What I want to say is that a lot of us now feel helpless. We shouldn't. Every day, we speak to our brothers and sisters in the north and the central and the southern regions inside Gaza, trying to see how we can help them. And wallahi, they're the ones that are helping us. The women there every day waking up, caring for their families, their children, baking them bread, ensuring that they pray their salah, that they learn the Quran. They raise the future generations of this ummah, teaching the world through the images and videos that we receive every day what it means to be a Muslim, what it means to have true tawakkul on Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the sustainer, not the man of the household, not the husband, not the father, not the work that we are doing. It is Allah who sustains them. We also heard about those that were let go in the West Bank, that were imprisoned by the Zionist forces for months. A lot of them talked in TV interviews. How did you survive? You tell us that you didn't have food for weeks. They said, we used to say, La ilaha illallah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, subhanallah al-azim. And we felt that we were full, alhamdulillah. How can we... That's why I'm saying I feel like we live in the Matrix. That living on the Holy Land there is so different in so many ways. The level of iman that the people have there, the level of them trying to apply what they've learned from Islam on their day-to-day lives, in all aspects of life, has elevated them in a way that the whole world is changing. And none of us can really look at life or look at the world in the same way prior to October the 7th. My dear brothers and sisters, the brothers and sisters in Gaza send their salam. And thank you all for continuing to raise your voices for all those that are going through unjust in the world. We need to remember our brothers and sisters everywhere. Everywhere that they need our help, we need to raise their voices through different social media accounts, through international television stations, writing to our MPs, lobbying our governments, donating wisely through the right people in order to ensure that it reaches our brothers and sisters on the ground. We don't want to wait for our brothers and sisters to suffer worldly defeat and then help them. No, we want to keep them strong now while they are fighting their fight. We don't want to wait. We cannot wait. We need to be a part of this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised them victory. The question is, where is our role in this? Where is my role in this? Are we going to be used or are we going to be replaced? Are we doing what we are doing for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or for that others to say, oh fulan, look at him or her, what they are doing? I'm here inshallah all day today and tomorrow. I look forward to speaking with you all if you have any questions or concerns about what is happening in Gaza and how we can help. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless the brothers and sisters in Muslimi and humanity for holding this event. Jazakumullah khair for listening to me. Barakallahu feekum. Subhanakallah bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
Takbir! Another round of applause for our brother Mansour Shouman. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. You know, he's actually a Canadian, and for us as a community, I mentioned this yesterday, you know, I think for all of us, our hearts are just on hold right now. It's so hard to even function and think when we understand the severity of the situation. So the bravery of our brother Mansour to continually relive and reshare these memories, we know it's not easy for him. So we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to protect and bless him. Say Ameen. We ask that Allah Azza wa Jal give him the strength to continue his very important work. Say Ameen. And we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala free all of our brothers and sisters from the tyranny of that country and make Palestine free once again. Say Ameen. Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Oh, you guys are going to have to do better than that later on, because we got a whole Nasheed concert, and I'm telling you, everyone is talking about Palestine. So I want you to keep that on our tongues, inshallah. But without further ado, I want to bring our next speaker to the stage. MashaAllah, we had a really cool impromptu session yesterday, but you know, he's going to be with us for the entire weekend, and so we just want to make sure that we maximize and benefit as much as we can. If you guys haven't already checked out you know, his work online, Masterman is a project that is helping to build that next generation of young, strong men, the leaders who will help lead us to the promised land, inshallah. And you know, the sisters keep asking Sheikh, where are all the good men? We don't know where they are, Sheikh. We got to start building them from now, because you know, we don't want to leave